I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Master the art of selling through empowerment. I think that's going to be a great conversation between myself and my esteemed award-winning business coach. But enough about that. We'll learn about him shortly. Welcome to the show, The Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. If you're watching us live, thank you for being here. If you have a comment, put it in the comments section. And if we don't get to it right away, we'll get back to it as soon as we possibly can. And if you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay, remember? And what's the last thing I'm to do? Where's that checklist when I need it? Oh, yes, it is to share this out and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can watch the replay and watch some of the other esteemed guests we've had on the Business Renovator. Enough for that, though. To make this happen, I have to do a commercial. So here it is. Yeah, did you notice it said it was free? Absolutely. You just go to my website, coachphil.ca. At the top right-hand corner is a button. Click on the button. It'll take you to the business growth assessment and figure out what your growth score is. You might be pleasantly surprised that nothing needs to change and you're on the right path, or you might find that there's an area where there's room for improvement because you're watching us here live today or on the replay. 30-minute complimentary coaching session. Again, no credit card required. You will not be sold anything. We'll just have a conversation. And the bonus today in this episode is that you'll have two opportunities because my guest is also a focal point coach. But we'll bring him on here shortly. Matter of fact, almost right away as soon as I get some of this done. So again, it's master the art of selling through empowerment. My guest, Brian, brings unparalleled insights to the table, having a rich background as a U.S. Navy officer and over 15 years of corporate experience, leading international teams, specializing in coaching leaders of mid-market manufacturing firms. He's here to revolutionize your approach to time management, leadership, and sales is a main focus for today, but those other topics might creep in there. And Brian indulges in his passions for umpiring, baseball, and cooking when he's not shaping the future of businesses. Brian is an award-winning business and executive coach based in the Woodlands, Texas. I can't even read my own typing. On the latest episode of the Business Renovator, I'm gonna bring him up. Brian, where are you? Weaver, here he comes. Welcome to the show. Hey, and thanks for fitting us into your crazy busy schedule.
Thank you.
Oh no, that's the wrong signal. That what does that mean? That's
play ball.
That's play ball.
Play ball.
That's safe.
Safe.
You can see I'm a hockey guy.
There, you just stand around and watch people fight. I think if you're the referee.
Yeah, that's right. And the linesmen do all the dirty work.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm glad you're here and I'm going to share a little bit of wisdom in the short bit of time we're going to be hanging out together.
You kind of covered it in your intro. You said you're not going to sell anything. That's pretty much how you sell. You don't try to sell anything.
Well, isn't that interesting?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Great job.
But how can we possibly do that without selling? Because selling, I have a definition, but I know you're good at helping people get to where they want to get to without selling. So what is your methodology, philosophy?
To be really inquisitive, ask questions. We've all heard it before. Telling is not selling. And I've seen it when I was running sales teams. I've seen it with other salespeople trying to sell to me. They just like to give you word vomit and just tell you everything that's going on. Let me tell you this, 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 and this. And you get to the end, it was like, I'm not interested. Thanks. I did a ride along with a client a few months ago, and I got to the end of one of his sales calls and said, "How many questions did you ask?" And he thought back and goes, "I don't know, 5 or 6." Like, you asked one question. You asked, "How are you doing today?" And the rest of the conversation was you just talking. So big thing, ask open-ended questions. Phil, you and I are big Brian Tracy fans, obviously. Brian Tracy will tell you the client is the expert in his business. Let him tell you about his business. So that's what I do. What do you do to sell, Phil? You're a master salesman.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just thinking about Brian Tracy. I do like a lot of what Brian brings to the table in that conversation. One of the things that he said that stuck with me is be a doctor of sales.
Yeah.
And it goes back to how you started this out, you be inquisitive. So a good doctor, and when I was in, it was, I don't know how many years ago it was. I was at a training session for Focal Point in and around it might have been even around the sales training programs we offer, and early on in getting certified. And one of the people in our company was here from Guatemala, and he shared a story about selling. He had a back injury. He went to the doctor. One doctor asked a bunch of questions and said, "Oh, it sounds like it's this issue." I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to use a scientific word because I can't remember what it is.
I'm not sure my feed froze or Phil's did. So we don't have too much dead air time here in case it's Phil's that froze and not mine. I'll kind of continue with what he was saying. I've always said, be a diagnostician. Don't be the sleazy used car salesman. And nothing against used car salesmen. There are great ones out there. Don't be the sleazy one. I said that specifically. And be a diagnostician. Ask questions. Ask the deep questions with your clients, just kind of like their patients. So I like to go in with them and just ask a whole lot of questions to get to the root of what's going on. Hopefully Phil will be able to join us. Otherwise, it's me doing a monologue, and my stand-up skills are lacking. I know dad jokes. That's about it. And some puns. Other than that, it may be very disappointing. Well, while I got you, talk a little bit more about building sales and sales teams and things like that, and enabling your sales programs. One of the big things that if you're going to put together a sales team and a sales program that I found that works, well, I say it works, it's really kind of necessary. There's a few. First off, running a sales team and building a sales team is kind of like herding cats. Salespeople, they all have different qualities. They all have different motivators. Well, you got to treat them like the individuals they are. You can't kind of treat them like they're all cut from the same mold. So you have to really take time to understand what motivates your people, what motivates the sales team. You have to put clear expectations in place. These are the bumpers that you're putting up in your bowling alley, if you will, in your bowling lane, so that they've got some way to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They know what their expectations are. The other piece of this is you've got to have a culture that supports them. There's a book on my shelf right there called How to Grow by Marcus Bridgewater. He uses agriculture planning growing things is a great analogy for life. And I've had a lot of good discussions with Marcus. He was a client at one point, and just we see each other socially now. He's a great guy. But one of the things that Marcus really talks about is we can't yell at the plant to grow. You can't do the same thing with people. You can't just say, grow, damn you, grow. So we have to create the environment, the soil. We have to nurture that aspect of it that allows the people to grow. And that's one of the things we've got to do with salespeople, is make sure that they've got the right culture that they're working in. And that culture, it's got to be positive. It's got to be supportive. There has to be accountability there as well. And you have to build a culture of accountability. This doesn't have to be like a core value of accountability or something like that, but you have to have that culture. And then the other thing you've got to have in there is you've got to have discipline and a culture of discipline. Because at the end of the day, to get sales, you need action. And discipline is kind of one of those keys to action. You know, you've got goals set from an overall sales targets, things like that. You need to make sure that you've got processes in place, process goals in place, rather, to say, this is how many calls I'm going to make. This is how many door knocks I'm going to make on a daily basis. And you've got to have the discipline so that when you're getting kicked in the teeth over and over and over again on sales calls, people are telling you no. Hey, there you are. Sorry, I've been doing a monologue.
You sounded great. I should have stayed in the background. Apparently, I ran out of memory or something. I don't know. So being the trooper,
it happens with age, by the way.
Well, you have that to look forward to.
It's getting there. Sorry, I tried to kill the dead time while you were gone, but
well, I'm glad it was still working at your end, because I tried an alternative computer and that one didn't work either. So I thought, screw it, I'll just shut it down and bring it back up and see what happens. Yeah. So that's one of the things I liked about what we do, is being adaptable to situations. And something that's really important to being a salesperson, a servant, is you listen to the questions. And if you go with a preconceived idea, you often get it wrong. I was selling for Dale Carnegie in my local marketplace, and I'd listened to a father talk about his son, and he thought, you know, the father's perception of what was going on and the son's perception, I learned out, was different. So I went out there on the call, charging to be the guy in his shining armor, and I thought, halfway there, I thought, no, don't presume you understand anything. Shut up and ask questions. So thankfully, I took my advice. When I got to meet the young feller and I talked to him, I started like you started this call, our podcast. Be inquisitive. So I did that. As a result of that, I heard a whole different story, whole different challenges, and he enrolled in the program and it changed his life. So selling is not telling.
There you go.
But you had said something, and I was on this rant to talk about it, and I can't remember what it was. So I'm sorry, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. It's vaporized because it disappeared. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad you joined us when you did, Phil. I was almost to the point where I was going to have to start taking off my shirt to keep the audience engaged. So.
That's too funny. But being that you're in shape and a ball player, well, umpire, keeping the guys
much different.
Yes. How did you get into that crazy role?
You know, when my younger son, who's 18, about to graduate from high school right now, when he was 15, he said, I want to go umpire baseball as a part-time job. It pays $45 to $50 for a game for about an hour and a half to hour and 40 minutes, depending. Which, if you think about it, from a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid, he's making $25 an hour or plus. So really good part-time job for kids. Well, I love baseball, and I figure he was not old enough to drive, so I was going to have to drive him to the training and the games and everything else anyway. So I said, well, I'll do the training with you, and fell in love with it. It's the only hobby I've ever had that I actually get paid a little bit to do, so I can actually justify it with my wife that I'm doing a hobby, as opposed to spending thousands of dollars a year on fishing or hunting or golf or something like that. So
that's cool. Hey, look at that. I'm here twice.
There's 2 Phils now.
Oh no, this is great. I'm gonna remove one of them. Let's see. There we go.
All right.
The right button. So he's doing it to earn money. That's pretty good money for a young guy.
He is.
And then you probably, everybody else heard what you said, but
That's
didn't.
so what I said was he was I was going to have to drive him to training and games and everything else. I said, well, I'll just go through the training myself since I got to be there. And I fell in love with umpiring. I've been doing it, and it's the only hobby I've ever had where people pay me to do it as opposed to me paying to do it. So I can, as I was saying to the wide audience here, that I can justify it with my wife. So I'm not spending tens of thousands of dollars a year hunting, fishing, golfing, all of that kind of stuff. So it's a lot better that way. I tell you what, it's great about it. If you like to practice self-discipline, it is a great way to practice self-discipline and patience, because when you're dealing with angry coaches and parents of kids, it takes a lot to maintain your cool. So, and I've gotten better at maintaining my cool with those guys because I just realized that they don't know any better.
There's a life lesson on that for all of us, even salespeople. Because if you've got that calmness about you, you're not have a neediness.
Yes.
Some of the people I followed, Jim Camp talks about, is to get rid of the neediness. If we show up with the neediness approach, people pick up our energy, however we're showing up. So if I have a statement that I picked up from somebody along the way, and it stuck with me. And it's, when I've stayed in this state of mind, it's been powerful. When I've been on the opposite, it's been powerful, just not in a favorable way. And all it is high intention, low attachment. I want to help you. I want to serve you. It would be a fantastic experience to be able to work with somebody in most cases, but I don't have to. It's not, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. Yeah. And especially with what you and I do as business coaches, it's an intimate experience. And the people that I'm working with, I don't know about you, they're not necessarily looking for new friends or somebody to be a yes man or yes gal. They're looking for somebody that has an unbiased opinion and some insights and ideas, and to help them keep their eye on the prize, whatever their prize is, right?
Yeah. And 2 comments that I actually had lunch with a gentleman yesterday. He's a CEO of a machinery company here in Houston, and he was saying he needs somebody not to be a friend of his. He needs somebody that can challenge him and bring a fresh set of eyes to his problem. So yeah. The other comment I had, I was talking to a roofer on Wednesday, and kind of what you talked about, that desperation side of things, or that neediness rather. He called it commission stink. Yeah. And you can smell it on a sales guy when they're desperate for earning a commission, and it's just like, well, you need to back off, pal. You're kind of in my face on this.
Yeah, exactly. So, I heard that labeled similar. You call it commission sting. The other one I heard around that was commission breath. Either way,
commission breath.
Thing,
yep.
Right?
Yep. So it's and I love the detached piece, because if you can be detached from it, like you said, I may or may not be able to help depending on what it is that your problems are. And there's plenty of people I've spoken with, like, you need other help than what I can give you. In some cases, it was marriage counseling, therapy, things like that. It's like, you have deeper problems, or legal advice. You need a good CPA. There's other things that you may need before we engage with each other. And I would rather steer somebody that way than just try to grasp straws and help them through some problem that they may not have. I don't want to make up a problem.
I'm going to hold up a card, and I think it's from one of your presidents out of the US, but I could be wrong. But here it is. I don't have to. No one cares about you until they know how much you care about them. So here's the card, just to let you know. I guess I could have been reading that, but I've had this mantra in my mind for a long time, and I'm holding it where I'm not supposed to. My video coach is saying, "Look, don't cover your face." That's the voice. But in order to get on the camera, I kind of have to do that. So no one cares about you until they know how much you care about them. And when I've been able to help my clients get into that state of mind, they become more of a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
And
I had a mentor. I say a mentor. He was a senior sales guy at one of the places I first worked when I got out of the Navy, and I was working in the oil and gas world at a large oil and gas service company. One of the senior sales guys there, and I'd say a mentor just because he had some great sales skills, but he was kind of a jerk, so I wouldn't necessarily call him a mentor. But anyway, he would tell me, Brian, you have to show the client that you care about their problems more than they do.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing. And he was highly successful he ran one of the global accounts for one of the big oil and gas companies we had. Really great at what he did. Pain in the butt to deal with internally, but great with his clients. So I have all the respect for him that way.
Sounds like you just described something called tactical empathy.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. Yes.
I picked that phrase up from Chris Voss's teachings. Another great book called Never Split the Difference. Could you imagine being a hostage negotiator and you're working with a bank heist, and there's people in red and people in green, and you say, okay, well, I'll take the green ones and you take the other ones, and we'll call it even. Well, that's not. He wants everybody out of there unharmed.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, they really relied on tactical empathy.
Yeah, I saw I think it was one of the master class sort of things that he was speaking on. It was pretty impressive. That guy. What we do is pretty low impact compared to what that guy was doing.
Yeah, he was dealing with saving lives.
Yeah, impressive.
So if it could work for saving lives, just think if you developed your professional selling skills, like you said, selling's not telling. It's about being inquisitive, I also refer to it as being a tourist looking for directions. I got that from another awesome American with another company I was working with. He was coaching and teaching us on a weekend. He came up to where I live and spent some time with us, and that stuck with me. Be a tourist looking for directions. Even though you live where you live and you know a lot about the community, you don't need to tell everybody you know about the community. You can suggest it or say, hey, where's your favorite place to go for pizza?
Yeah.
Where's your favorite golf course? What's the toughest hole on that course? That's being a tourist looking for directions.
I've written down more insights from this interaction than you can believe right now. So I love that. Be a tourist looking for directions.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Very much so. The other thing too with sales, I know we're kind of bouncing all over the place.
That's okay.
And I mentioned this when you were offline earlier, but I think it's worth harping on a little bit more. We talk about asking questions and things like that, but at the end of the day, it also comes down to discipline. And we kind of touched on that a little bit too, with the lessons taking from being an umpire and being detached from people. Having the discipline to continue to churn and to grind and do the things you're supposed to do as a salesperson, and to work your process goals. So we have performance goals. Think about, I want to sell $10 million worth of widgets this year. Great. What does that break down into? How many sales calls do you need to make on a daily basis? And then having the discipline to stick to that. If you've got to make 20 calls in a day and you get kicked in the chin 19 times, having the discipline to make that one more call. And then if you've got 5 more minutes left in the day, instead of folding up the laptop and shutting down the phone, make a 21st or a 22nd call and keep pushing forward through it. And that's a hard thing to teach people, that discipline. And it's a hard thing to create as a culture within a company. But for success, that's one of the things you've got to drive to, just that continual drive to action at that point.
Here's a quote of mine that actually hits that one out of the ballpark, using baseball as an example. You only have to do what you don't want to do until you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So if we do things in a have to way, what I found to be true, again, from one of my mentors along the way, I talked about earlier, he helped me, maybe we talked about this in the green room. Anyway, one of my mentors took complicated psychological babble and taught it in a way so it would dumb down for people like me, which makes it easy to assimilate, to make change happen. And he was a big advocate of, you don't have to do anything. So I'm a big fan of not using words like have to
Yeah.
It really doesn't support you. Have to, need to. You don't need to do a damn thing. Well, and I've had people say, well, if I don't do that, then I can't pay my mortgage. And I go, yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to lose my house. Okay, then shut up and do it because you
Then
want
do it.
It's easier. That's all.
Now it becomes I want to do this because
Right.
I kind of.
And the other thing that you and I are familiar with is a power principle called the 1% rule.
Yep.
Another book by Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge, is all about that. And it's doing small incremental improvements on a consistent basis, which is what you're talking about. Make the 20 calls, the 10 calls, whatever it is, and go a little bit further if you've got a little bit of extra time. And it's doing that regularly that has the massive change. And in the American auto industry, I'll say North American, because Canadians are, I'm pretty sure, involved with that as well.
Well, and a lot out of Mexico too.
Right. And they were talking about, again, it's coming back to baseball. They wouldn't stop the line or make any improvements unless it was a grand slam home run. Meanwhile, the Japanese would make small improvements and give the people on the line permission to stop the line if they saw a problem. So they captured the market share a bunch of years ago and have been leaders for a long time in that space because of that 1% rule. Who I think it was taught to them by an American, though.
It was.
Right?
Yes.
I forget his name.
Specifically at Toyota. And wow, the name is escaping me.
But the concept is that 1% small improvements on a regular basis.
The other piece of that too, when you do something like that enough and you have that discipline to go, let's face it, you may be saying the wrong things. You may be approaching it wrong. If you do it enough, you now have enough data points to point to and say, all right, I need to change. I need to tweak my messaging. I need to change the times I'm calling. I need to do something different. So let me make a change, not change the whole thing. Let me tweak something here. Yeah. And I'm gonna repeat this process over. That didn't change it. Let me change something else. And I can keep going like that. It allows me to be more comfortable in my messaging. It allows me to be more comfortable in my conversation, the questions that I'm asking. Maybe it turns out that I'm not dressing appropriately for the audience that I'm talking to or something. It can be any number of factors, but by changing these things enough, we can actually get a lot better at the selling piece of it. Yeah, I love this.
Go ahead.
No, I love the story though about the department store. I want to say it was JCPenney. It's been too many years since I read it, but back in the day when it was typically men working in the department store and selling suits and everything else, they figured out that men wearing a certain color suit with a certain color shirt sold more than anybody else. So that's what everybody wore, and it became almost a uniform. But they knew that because they had enough data points from doing it over and over and over again. And it's kind of an important part of building a good sales program.
Yeah, I had that lesson, and when I was working with the franchise owner for Dale Carnegie, he didn't force us to wear a blue suit with a red tie and a white shirt, but he did want us to wear a suit, not a blazer and trousers. That was the way that IBM came up with their thing. He was trained by IBM, so that's what he did as well. Yep. So I got course corrected, which is what I heard you were talking about when I was saying it sounds like that. Paying attention to your activities and paying attention to them, and then adjusting if you're not getting the results you're looking at. Not a huge baseball bases loaded change, but just how you grip the bat, or how you put your foot, or all those little things can have massive changes.
Oh yeah,
constant and never-ending improvement. Wait, can I?
Yep.
Kenai, CANEI. I don't think I have a banner on that in my system, do I? Let's have a quick peek. I do not. I should probably add that one at some point. I have some canned ones that I've put in there. This is one that.
That's a good way to freeze right there with Phil. So yes, you expect success. So while Phil is unfreezing, let me talk about a couple of books that I love. as far as sales stuff. Pretty much anything that Jeb Blount does is amazing. He's done selling in a crisis is one of the best ones. I always point people to that, because even though you may not be in a crisis, you can pull a lot of nuggets. It covers a lot of areas. So that's always a good one. If you do consultative sales, there is a book called Questions That Sell by Paul Cherry. I love that one as well. The Jeb Blount stuff is great from an Audible, or you can listen to audiobooks, because he is, it's just good information. I can listen to it over and over again. The Paul Cherry stuff actually has exercises in it that pretty much my entire script, if you will, from the discovery calls and introductory coaching calls that I do and everything, is pulled from that book. That's sales specific type of stuff. My favorite book in general right now is probably Discipline is Destiny. Again, I was talking about discipline earlier being so important. It's key to good sales, is having that discipline. And frankly, it's key to good business and how you run your business. Having the discipline to do the things you're supposed to do. Ryan Holiday is a tremendous author. I've got a whole stack of books up there. He is a modern day Stoic philosopher that kind of breaks down a lot of, doesn't just break down the writings of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and Seneca and Cato and these others. He actually goes into, or Zeno, Cato the Younger, I guess. See, I'm still young. I'm still learning my philosophy. But he goes into modern day examples like Admiral James Stockdale and the former Queen of England and these other people, and sort of the Stoic lessons that they've given us through the years, and kind of makes it relatable to us in our modern day. Why is Stoic philosophy so important to business running, or running a business or sales? Because the lessons are they're timeless. The things around discipline, around the obstacles the way is one book that he wrote, and it's based on a passage that says the impediment to action becomes the action, so that we can use the obstacles in front of us. Think about sales. I'm not getting through to the right people. How can I create action in order to get through, around, under, however it is, to that target that I'm getting to? So, Bill is not back yet. Hopefully his memory is coming back soon, and I don't have to start stripping for the camera. If you like that, though, leave it in a comment. I'll direct you to my OnlyFans site. I don't have an OnlyFans site. I'm kidding. There's none of that. So, what else to talk about while he's not here? It's a good question. So, because usually my conversations with people are just that, they're conversations. They're not monologues from me. Well, earlier we were talking about building sales teams, and we were talking about things like accountability, and we talked about discipline. We talked about setting expectations, kind of building an environment for salespeople. The other thing in there, I would say, is with anything, make sure that they have the tools and the training to do their job appropriately. And honestly, if you have tools and training, you hire the right people, your job is almost there. Now it's up to you to build the environment for them. But the tools can be anything from, they've got access to a cell phone, they've got good internet connection and a computer, they've got the right CRM systems, whatever it is that they need. And then the training comes down to your processes. What are your sales processes? What are the other business processes that they need to be aware of? What are the operations pieces that they need to be aware of? Because if you're building a sales team who's just solely focused on sales, and they're not aware at least of what's happening in the operations space, you can start to have a lot of disconnect. with regards to what they're selling and what you're actually making, or the capacity, especially if you're in a manufacturing business or something where it's resource constraint, like engineering consulting or something like that. They need to know that, all right, I can't promise to have this engineering analysis done in 2 weeks if all of my engineers are backed up. I can't promise to deliver this valve to you in a month if my manufacturing line and my supply chain line over here is backed up. So a big part is having a good sales operation meeting or sales operations process where those things come together at least on a weekly probably basis to understand capacity and level loads and all the other fun operational stuff that sales guys tend to not want to get into. And the operations guys need to understand some of the things the sales guys are getting into, because the sales guys are going to be, and gals, I don't mean that in a sexist mean way, but the sales team is going to be out there with a lot of feedback on demand. What is the market asking for? And if the operations hears that and they can say, all right, we need to start, maybe we need to bring on another machine, either buy it or bring one more online. Maybe we need to hire a couple more people. They can start working, so you're not building your demand and your sales. You can kind of build them up like that. Sorry, Phil, I was rambling on how operations and sales work together because I was running out of other things. Shirt already came off. People demanded I put it back on. So we got into other things.
Well, I knew we were in good hands because you are such a leader, a winning business executive coach, and the people that you get to work with or get to work with you is probably more appropriate. We're very fortunate to have you on. I
get to work with them. It's the coolest thing in the world. Honestly.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. I'm not going to dare to try to share your website or your LinkedIn.
Do you want me to try?
No.
Okay.
Actually,
don't touch anything.
No. With your I've never seen it from your end. If you have the ability to share it, do you have that? I can put the banner up. I'm happy to do that, which I will do. And I appreciate you just jumping in and saving my backside. I got a message from my system. It says you're running out of memory. And I go, this is crazy. So while I was waiting for this to come back, we're adaptable. It's what we do, is we help our clients be adaptable too, right? And I already sent a text message to my tech to let them know I'm having serious issues with my system and I can't fix them. So yeah, there it is.
Ooh, look at that.
Now I can bring it to the stage. There we go. So I'm going to make that a little easier for people to see though, Brian.
Okay.
It's right there.
There you go. That's my website.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about him, and also we did say that there was a great opportunity to do a business growth score. He also has a growth score card
right there in the top corner. And as you scroll through it, you'll see it in numerous places.
Yeah. So if you want to go check out his website, it's pretty easy, brianweaver.focalpointcoaching.com. And then the other place you can connect with him easier is go to his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, and I'll show you that. I got that too. Hold on.
Okay, go right ahead.
I think I do. No, there. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Look at that. See, I got your back, Phil.
I know, that's cool. And we have new branding, so both of us have work to do because I noticed that this morning.
Yes, I love the new branding, by the way.
Yeah, it looks good.
So, though you're going to have to change your introductory animation.
Yes.
You have put me to shame with regards to your ability to put that stuff together. That was impressive.
Well, it all came out of COVID. When we were not allowed to go and talk and do exploratory conversations with people face to face, utilized technology more. And in the offing before COVID, I had the idea of doing something like this, but based on the knowledge I had at the time, I didn't like what was available. I don't want to throw app out under the table, so I'm not going to mention it, but there was an app because I love the app for different applications, but it restricted me only to be able to push it out to one person or for one source.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have multiple sources, and I didn't know how to do that, and didn't want to spend a ton of money on putting these things together because I didn't want to. And so how could I do it creatively and innovatively? Well, through COVID, I got involved and got to know some people. One of them, Jeffrey Dittimer, had a emerging sales group as a result of that. He went for 2 years at 9:59 every morning. And through that process of hanging out with him and meeting some other people, we created a mastermind called Megaminds. And Megamind, with about 20 to 30 people, give or take, none of us had really ever met other than the common thread of selling. We're all in the sales profession. And over the course of the last couple of years following that, I've actually met a couple of them. I met one in Cincinnati a couple of years ago. And then just this year, when I was down in Chicago, I met another one. She came up from Georgia, and we hung out for about 3 days. And I'd never met either one of them in person. We had some great time. Both of them entrepreneurs, sales type people, and making a difference in the world. So it was fantastic. So that's how I got into this and put you to shame.
Very cool.
If you go back to my first editions, you don't have to go there. But if you did, there's a quote by Harv Eker that I really, really like. Brian has one that says the top 10% were once the bottom 10%, which is true. I just find the way Harv Eker says it is, for me, it was more impactful. Every master was once a disaster. And that's true too. I was. And I've gotten better all the time. I'm getting better at looking at the camera more often. And I have a video coach guy in my head who's helped me pay attention to that. But I still go off every once in a while. I like to see the people who I'm talking to, because that's the high eye in me.
That's where I am. I keep looking at you, but the camera's there. So
I know. So I'll take the compliments. Thank you very much. Yeah. But anybody can learn it and do it. You can tell that I'm on StreamYard by watching this, but it allows me. And it wasn't StreamYard's issue that was the reason I was popping in and out. It's to do with my hardware. For some reason, I'm out of memory. I don't know what that's all about, but I've got a message into my tech support, so that's cool.
All right.
So we shared how we can get hold of you, and I don't dare show it any other way, just because I want to wrap this up properly. So is there one thing that you would offer to salespeople that are either in the profession now or thinking about it?
Yes, and I would say this probably applies to not just salespeople, but anybody that's doing anything out there. And it's the old George Patton quote that a good plan violently executed today, or right now rather, a good plan violently executed right now is better than a perfect plan next week. So activity, action, that is going to be your friend. Go start doing things and do it as soon as possible. Don't wait for all the perfect stars to align. Don't wait for I just had this one more system or this one more, marketing flyer. Go call people. If you're a salesperson, go make a phone call right now. Go knock on a door. Go send the email. Do something that involves getting in front of a client, because they are going to tell you what they need at the end of the day. Period.
I love that. It makes me think of a whole bunch of others that have said the same thing, but I don't want to take the power from your message. It's powerful. Hey, thanks for being here and hanging out with my intermittent technology working perfectly. And then
That's all right. I had a great conversation with myself during that time.
Cool. Oh no, now I'm having Microsoft. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up real quick before my system shuts down. So I'll see you shortly.
All right, Phil. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was fun when I was here. Wow. Talk about potholes and curves in life. Well, you just experienced it here. Technology showed up in a way that I had not experienced on a live show. So one of the things I want to leave with you today is something that I do pretty much every show, if it can get it to come up. It's here somewhere. It might not work today. Oh, here it is. I got it now. Here it is coming. It is this. Notice the you in wonderful. It's not an O because it's representing you. You are unique and you are wonderful. So I encourage you to continue being your unique, wonderful self with all of your imperfections. Until next time, I'm Coach Phil, and we promise to have the technical issues taken care of. Oh, one last plug. If you know somebody that would be has a message that you want to nominate to be on the Business Renovator, send me a note and let's get them on the airwaves. And yeah, that's a wrap. Let's wrap this up right now as we can, as we do.
I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.